Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We are on Icelandic folk tales. We're actually on one of my favourites right now, and this has been told so many times through so many different countries, and it's always told the same yet different. So I don't know if the Icelandic one is the same as the one that I've heard, but it's called the sealskin. There once was a man in Maydala who happened to be walking by the sea cliffs one morning early, while most other people were still in bed. Then he came upon the mouth of a cave. Sounds of gaiety and dancing were heard from inside the cave, while outside it a great many sealskins were laying about. The man took one of the skins, carried it home with him, and locked it away in a trunk. Later in the day, he went by the cave once again. At this time, a young, beautiful woman was sitting there, stark naked and crying bitterly. She was the seal whose skin the man had taken. After he had brought her some clothes, the man comforted her and took her home with him. She became quite attached to him, but didn't get on too well with others. And many times she would sit and she would gaze longingly through the window, looking out towards the sea. After some time had finally passed, the man did marry her. They proved to be quite compatible and had several children. The husband always kept the skin locked away in his trunk and carried the key with him wherever he went. One day, many years later, he went out to fish and forgot the key under his pillow. Others say that he went to Christmas services along with his household, while his wife, who was not feeling well, remained at home, and that he forgot to take the key from the pocket of his work clothes when he got changed. Whichever way it was, when he returned home, the trunk was open, and his wife, along with the sealskin, gone. She had taken the key, looked in the trunk out of curiosity, and found the skin. Unable to resist the temptation, she then had said goodbye to her children, put on the skin, and plunged into the sea. But before she did, the story goes, she recited these words, as if to herself. Of two minds must I be. I have 7 children in the sea, and 7 more upon the land. The husband is said to have grieved far, far deeply, more deeper than anyone could imagine for her. Later, when he went out fishing, a seal would often circle around his skiff, and sometimes it looked as if tears were running from its eyes. The man had the best of luck in fisheries every time he went. Even after that, every time he had such luck. The sea also washed many things upshore that made him have such luck. People often noticed that when his children happened to be walking on the beach, a seal would swim offshore along with them and throw them multicoloured fish and pretty seashells. But never again did their mother return to land. The end. So the story of the sealskin is a fae story, and there is another story that is told. And once upon a time, there was a man, and he lived quite a lonely life. He had lost his family, and he inherited a farm, so he worked a lot, and he became quite lonely. And one night, he went walking along the beach and came across a group of humans. And they were dancing and singing, and they had a fire, and they was very, very merry, but they were naked, they were sky-clad. He did not approach them, but watched from afar. And then he saw some sort of skins lying about, and it came to his mind that this could be the fae, the good old Selkie. So he took a skin and he did take it home, and he did lock it away. He never really thought much of it and went to sleep that night, and he did put the key around his neck. The next day, he went for a wander on the beach again to see if he could see anyone around. And there was a young maiden, and she was sat sky-clad, and she was crying. He comforted her, he gave her his coat, and he took her in. Now, she did become attached to him because he looked after her, and they did have children. They had 2 children, and they farmed, and she did all the work that a wife would do. She became a good wife, she was a good mother, but she didn't know that he had taken her skin. And the children were told by the father one night where their mother had come from, and the fact that they were so attracted to the ocean, because the children were attracted to the ocean. They would always want to be playing in the ocean, going near the ocean. Not that they wanted to live in it, but they had a deep connection with the ocean. So one night the man had to sit down and explain to his children that their mother was a Selkie, and he'd stolen her skin. And that's why sometimes she became very depressed when they were near water. The children, being able to understand and at an older age, they actually took the key from their dad when he went fishing, and they told their mother everything, and she was absolutely devastated that this man had tricked her like he'd taken the skin, and she didn't know he'd taken it. He tricked her basically into marriage and having a family. Her children, though, they wanted her to go. They wanted her to leave and live her life. So they helped her get the skin. They gave her the key. They unlocked the trunk. She got her skin back, and she kissed her children goodbye, and she went to the ocean, and that was that. And she never did return, because it is said that a Selkie wife will always find a way back to the ocean, and she will never return on land. But she would never return because she was so betrayed by what he had done. And there's another version of a young lady coming across a man at night, and they only had this one night together. She knew he was a Selkie. She met him, and his sealskin was beside him, and they cut away from the group of Selkies, and they talked, and he instantly fell in love with her. Now, the problem was he could not stay on land, and she could not go into the sea. However, he told her if she could get a sealskin, one of the Fey realm, that she could join him in the sea if she wished to. He did offer to stay on land, but he did warn her that doing that, he would always want to return to the ocean at some point, and she couldn't bear to be without him. And it is said that her grandmother had a sealskin that she kept for many years because it was her granddad's, and that her grandma had actually fell in love with a Selkie man too. And he stayed on land, and he did not fare too well in the end. He went insane and died, but the sealskin remained. And it is said that when she asked her grandmother what to do regarding the problem, being in love with a Selkie and having no skin, that the grandmother came forth and told her the story of how her grandfather and her had met the very same way, more or less, and that he decided to stay on land. And the reason he died so young was because he went insane from staying on land and not returning back to the water. So she gave her granddaughter the sealskin, and she gladly put the sealskin on and took to the water with the young Selkie, and she did not return to land again. And that's another folk tale that I was told growing up. I was told many growing up, especially about the Selkie and stuff, but yeah. The next one is called The Serpent of Lagerfloit. At one time, long, long ago, there was a woman living on a farm in the Lagerfloit district, close by the stream where it broadens into a lake. She had a grown daughter. Once she gave her daughter a gold ring. The girl said to her, "Mother, how can I make the most of this gold?" "Put it under a ling snake," said the woman. So the girl secured a ling snake and put it in her linen chest. The gold was underneath it, buried away. There it lay for a few days. But when the girl went to look at her ring again, the snake had grown so large that the chest was beginning to come apart. Then the girl was frightened, and she picked up the chest with everything in it and threw it into the lake. A long time passed. Gradually, people became aware that there was a serpent in the lake, for it was beginning to kill both people and animals. Crossing the waters, night or day, it would savagely take them out. Sometimes it would even reach up on the banks, spewing its venom around most fearfully. It was soon obvious that this was a potentially big problem, and people should be worried, but no one knew how to solve it. Finally, 2 Finns were summoned to kill the serpent and recover the gold. They dived into the lake, but soon came back up again. The task, they declared, was totally beyond them. Neither could this serpent be killed, said the Finns, nor could the gold be retrieved, for there was another snake beneath the gold, half again as fierce as the first one. So they did the next best thing. Chained the serpent down with 2 fetters, one behind the flippers, and another around the tail. The serpent therefore could no longer kill man or beast, but sometimes it will arch its back, and when this is seen, it's always taken to endure disaster. Those who do not believe in the serpent, however, say it is a mere figment of the imagination, and they quote a story about the certain minister who not long ago rode straight across the spot where the serpent seemed to be in order to prove its contention that it doesn't exist. The end. How bizarre. Kind of reminds you of Leviathan, doesn't it? I've done a series on Leviathan, by the way, on my dragon one. The next one is called The Convent of Kirkshiva. The cloister is located in the south, in the city district of the Skaftafell county. The Book of Settlement states that the site was inhabited by the Papa, that is, Christians, before Iceland was settled by the Norsemen. So, sacrosanct was the place, already in the age of settlement, that it was commonly believed that no heathen might live there. And, as fortune would have it, Ketil the Foolish, who settled there and raised his farm at Kirkshiva, was indeed a Christian. But after Ketil died, a heathen by the name of Hilda, discounting the common belief, decided to move into the site. When he arrived at the edge of the home field, he fell down dead and was buried in Hilda's Mount. Hilda's Mount, it lies the east of Kirkshiva. A convent was established at Kirkshiva in 1186. The following tales have been told about it. Kirkshiva lies a beautiful mountainside covered with grass up to the crowning cliffs, which may be climbed in many places, steep though they are. Up on the mountain there are large stretches of lovely grassland around a lake called Sisteravten, Sisters' Lake, because 2 nuns from the convent are supposed to have gone there, either both together or singly. The story goes that an extraordinary beautiful comb of gold had been mysteriously held up from the waters of the lake, and one of the nuns tried to wade out for it, but the lake was too deep, and she perished. The other one is said to have coveted the comb as well, but couldn't see any way of getting it. Finally, she caught sight of a stone grey horse by the lake, and decided to ride it. But the horse was so large that she couldn't mount it until it lowered its front part or got down on its knees. Then she rode it out into the lake, and none of them have since been seen, the nun, the horse, or the comb. For this reason, the lake is called Sisteravten. while Agatha Helgadottir was Mother Superior of the Kirkshiva convent. Some strange happenings occurred there. For a long time during the summer of 1336, loud moans were heard from under the bed and dining room floors at Kirkshiva, but nothing was ever found, even though a search was made all the time. The same year as Mother Agatha died, in 1343, the newly ordained Bishop John Sigurdsson came from abroad, landing at Reyðarfjörður in the east. From there, he immediately began his visitations, going through the south toward the west, and on the way he stopped at Kirkshiva. At that time, a sister named Catherine was burnt at the stake for godlessness and other serious charges, of which she was proven guilty, apparently. First, that she had pledged herself to the devil in writing. Second, that she had mishandled the body of Christ, consecrated bread, by throwing it behind a toilet door. And third, that she had lain with numerous laymen, and so it was adjudged that she be burnt at the stake. How nice. Some say that 2 sisters were burnt at this time, the second one for maligning the Pope, or not speaking of him with sufficient reverence, and so she had been burnt along with Catherine. The river Skafta flows hard by Kirkshiva, and west of it a single sheer cliff rises off the ground, the only ascent being on one side of it. On the top there is a small flat lawn, and on this small flat lawn there is said to be 2 hammocks, which people say they are the graves of sisters. They had been burnt there. That's how the story goes anyway. One hammock always remains green, while the other one is never the same. It's covered with thistles, though. For this reason it can't be seen. And the cliff itself is called Sisterapapi, Sister's Bluff. But who knows? There's many stories of this place, of the convent, and how there may be things going off there that should never ever be told and should not be found out, but yet they were. It's said that the abbot and the monks of Kirkshiva often went to Kirkshiva to see the Mother Superior and the sisters, and this was not difficult when the bridge was still intact. On the same way, south or west of the river, there is a place named Song Hill, which affords the first view of Kirkshiva if this route is taken. When the monks reached this hill, they customarily began singing so forcefully that it could be heard at the convent, and it is from this that the hill still derives its name. When the song was heard at Kirkshiva, the Mother Superior had bells rung, while she and all the sisters went down to Skafta to greet the abbot and the monks. In this place, there are now only sandlit craters. That's all you can see, nothing but sandlit craters, and the tract is called Glenora Striders. So, there's many stories, it seems, of that place. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit the like, it really helps, and many blessings.